I like cold water therapy. As you know, I like cold water therapy. I like breathing. I do sleep well.
I
and
like
stuff
breathing too, actually.
Breathing exercises, you fucking donkey bastard, man. Just be honest, right? I understand the concept of money can't buy happiness, right? But see, being broke,
But do you really understand it?
wait a second, being broke can't buy anything, right? Now it's no I'm not going back to the whole I would rather cry in a Bentley than in a Corsa, right? Which I do find funny, but I think it's just a pointless throwaway comment, right? But the world is going to hate me for what I'm about to say, but that's fine because the world hates me anyway. I don't give a fuck, right? But a lack of anything is nearly always an income problem, right? I was saying this the other day with somebody and they were like amazed that this was my logic, right? We were talking about like cost of living, right? And I think the cost of living is ridiculous now, right? And it's unfair and it should be changed. But if you are chronically affected by the cost of living, you can point anywhere, but it comes down to being what? An income issue.
Yeah.
Like I don't think do you think that's unreasonable?
No, it's perfectly logical. I mean, the challenge is that it's how we're conditioned from such a young age. That's the problem, though. You know, it's like one of the things I always talk about with any of the events that we do together, especially for the young entrepreneurs, is that I always say that don't ever believe you're only worth what you're currently getting paid. And there's this misconception that you need to be an entrepreneur and you need to go and run your own business. It's not. Like, this is across the board. You know, like when I got my first job in IT, you know, it's so funny when I think about it because it was a while back, but my my
What
years.
was it like in the 90s being employed in IT? What was it like?
It was in 2005, believe it or not.
That's mate, that's no far away from the night. Mate, I was 9 in 2005.
2005, I just got my first year's salary, 13 grand a year. And after my 3-month probationary period, I went up to 15. And do you know the crazy thing about that is, see, after my 3 months probationary period, like my mum threw a party for us. Like I came home to a surprise party, and it was all about you've made it, that's it. And I'm like, Mum, you do realise that I could still get the sack and you know I've not got a secure job if I still don't show up and everything else. Like in her
Also,
head,
income security is a fallacy anyway.
I know,
Like
so
that's like a myth anyway.
It's just crazy because in her head she's like, you've made it. Because the funny thing is that it was my uncle Johnny, so my mum's brother. It was always saying get into IT. You know, that's
Next
where you're.
big thing,
Yeah, it's the next big thing
Next big
because back then it you know it was kind of internet and all that stuff was just really being created, and I don't even think social media had really even taken off for a few years after that.
Maybe MySpace at that point. I think
Yeah,
MySpace
yeah.
was
Bebo.
was
yeah.
Bebo then?
It must have just been shortly after,
Well, I
but it was
got in P7.
thereabouts.
So if I got in P7, that'd have been 2007 or so.
Yeah, so it wasn't too far after.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of getting that job, so, you know, I'm always observing and looking at others. So looking at the senior people in that IT job that I got, you know, I'd be looking at all the senior positions and I'd ask questions. I'd be like, how long have you been working in IT for? And, you know, and they would say things like 20 years, 25. I think the longest I heard was like 35 years. And I'd ask them questions like, well, how much do you earn? And I'd hear things like 40, 60, 65. Like, you know, that's what they were saying, you know. And the funny thing is that is seen as a great salary, right? It's seen as like you've made it, you're at the top.
I still pander to that idea, by the way. If I'm talking to like a young person and they say something about like salary prospects further down the line, I still find myself going, I mean, yeah, 50 grand. Like, I mean, in comparison, it's a good wage, but I feel I'm just being nice. I'm like, what can you actually do with 50 grand a year?
Well, this goes full circle for what I'm trying to explain about how we're conditioned at a young age. And I'll get to that because it drives that point home about money and why we think the way that they think. But for me, I'm like, well, I'm looking at my experience, having just graduated from university, no real work experience in IT. This is my first job. And so I'm getting paid a salary, 15 grand after my probationary period. And I'm like, how can I get to the senior position? How can I get to the 50, 60 grand a year? Like, I don't want to be waiting 25, 30 years. Like, how can I fast track that? So for me, like, that's what kind of led me to personal development as well, because I would read books about the rules of management, The Rules of Work by Richard Templar, The Rules of Life, like all his books I
That
would be
book
reading.
sounds like it would be fucking depressing, by the way.
Mate, the books were good. Remember, like, for the age that I was, 19, 20, 21, those are, that was probably when my IQ level was
That was your
at.
masturbator face. That was your wee masturbator face.
Like, so for me, we've got an inside joke that I think all pretty much
Under 25s.
under 25, so just being masturbators. Anyway, so for me, it was just learning more about how to excel in the workplace, because the thought of entrepreneurship, although that was on my mind and I wanted to go out there and be entrepreneurial, but it was still trying to figure out, what does even entrepreneurship mean?
It's
What
like
does
an
it?
impossibility.
Yeah,
It's gate-kept almost in your
yeah,
head.
because
like,
it's a buzzword that sounds cool, but you don't realise everything that goes with it. And nowadays it's a bit different, because we talk about entrepreneurship over entrepreneurship, and
we spoke about that before on the
and
podcast.
something I encourage, especially from those that work with us, is to be an entrepreneur, is bringing more value to the workplace, because it means you don't need to sit and wait to be more qualified or have more experience to get promotions. Like, if you're bringing more value to the workplace, going over and above and beyond just showing up, then you will get noticed and you will progress like so quick. However, this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning there. My experience and what I see from the masses is that people get complacent too quick. Maybe they leave school and maybe they go to college or university, or they go and get a trade, or go straight out into the workplace. And it's around about that time where a lot of distractions in the younger people come in. So for me, I was quite a good footballer. I had a promising football career according to everybody, yet I blew it because I was hanging around with the wrong people. I
You would be
chose.
such a prick if you were a footballer, by the way. I'm just saying. You would be like a grade A absolute arsehole.
In what way?
You just would be, because you've got this now. Now you've got this sense of like, you're one of the most humble people I know, right? Like, me and you're polar opposites. I'm like a piece of shit and you're not, right? So the problem is that I think if you went down the footballer route, you would.
I'd have been a piece of shit like you. Is that what
Yes,
you're trying to say?
worse,
But worse.
Because anybody who plays football is just a cock, isn't they? They're just absolute headbangers. Like, you get some people that are like reasonable, because obviously anyone who plays for St Mirren, brand new, right? Then you just look at Celtic and Rangers and that, and like I was at the lights a couple of weeks ago, and I won't name who it was, but I was in my McFadden. They pulled up beside me, a certain Celtic player in another nice car, and like they're looking at me with a bird who looks like a British bulldog, right? And they're just looking at me, and I'm like, "Mate, I'm gonna smoke you in this car. You don't understand. I'm gonna smoke you. I don't care about your RSQ8, whatever it is you're driving." And obviously, I smoked them, right? And you know what? I expect them to pull up and go, "Sorry, Richard. Apologies that I thought I was on your level. That I thought my shitey little Audi was gonna beat your McLaren, and I'm really sorry about it." And he never apologised. That's what I expected.
What goes on in your head?
I think
Like,
the only
the
person-
guy, like, this is what's probably happening. The guy's probably sitting there to his girlfriend going, is he staring at me? Is he like, and he's like, let's pretend we're going to go a race so you could shoot off. So
No,
you
he
could kill
tried, mate. I heard him at high revs. I heard the exhaust note change. He must have pressed sport mode. You know that way it goes, brrr, and then you press sport mode, it goes brrr, because it's
Yeah.
ready to go. Revs up higher. He wanted it,
Get skilled.
and I gave him it. You know what I mean? I don't think there's a footballer in Scotland that has a car faster than me. Maybe James Tavernier. He's got a Lambo.
Well, but see, take footballers as an example, because many footballers, like, their career, is ending in their 30s, isn't it? Like
Probably get 4 or 5 years at your top wage.
yeah,
In your career
and
day.
and you're lucky if you're, especially in Scotland, right? Like, I mean, you've got to be playing for Celtic and Rangers. Even at that, you don't have, it's not like it was in the past. It's not like what it is down in England. That's why if you look at the Scottish football team, the majority of them are playing down south, or best Scottish players, because that's where the money is. But there's complacency that kicks in. And with footballers as an example, because a number of investors and people I've worked with in the past have been footballers, and it's a common
I've worked
thing.
with some as well, by the way. Just
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you know.
yeah. And it's common because the unfortunate thing is they don't really know anything about money. They know about being an
How to
athlete.
spend it.
Yeah, they know how to spend
On
it.
shite.
And so many just mismanage their money well.
Yeah.
They just squander it. They don't buy property. Even when they are investing, they're probably not sure what they're buying. And
You can, to a degree, out earn bad spending habits. Does that make sense? Like, unless you've got like if you're a gambler or something, like you've
Yeah.
got a bad vice, you're not going to. But if you can out earn bad spending to a degree, but then like we're saying there, when your 4 or 5 years of big money or the biggest money in your career stops,
Yeah.
you don't want to change your spending habits.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
And
And
if you think
that's
of,
when it goes tits
yeah,
up.
and if you think about it, if your career ends at 35 and you've misused that money, you've been squandering it and spending it everywhere, like what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to try and get that same income?
I know what you're going to do. You're going to speak at sportsmen's dinners.
I still don't think you're getting anywhere near the type of income that you would need to have. And this is the thing. It's like, take for example, because there's the opposite. There's footballers and other athletes that invest, and they're sensible with it, and I just think it's amazing that nowadays. It's changing a lot more because people are becoming a bit more money savvy and have got agents, although maybe not the best people to get financial advice from. But anyway, so there's definitely people try to steer them into it and learning from past mistakes. But the problem I've got, whether it's someone who leaves college or university and gets into a job, or whether they've got a trade and they go out and they're working at that. Even people who become self-employed and they start working for their own business and they're basically working in, trying to do everything themselves, they're still exchanging their time for money,
Yeah, of
even though
course.
there's an element of, I'm working for myself, but you're still exchanging your time.
Mm-hmm.
Footballers, anybody else who've got short careers. And what I was mentioning about me and relating to football was that, I was going out the weekends and and then you had the girls that you were chasing as well. So there, and then you've just get hundreds
Now
of
I know
things.
this story was a lie. Now I know this story was a lie. Paul never played. Paul was chasing. Paul gets no bitches. Fact.
So when you think about all of that and distractions, and because young people, let's be fucking honest, can't focus for 2 minutes, right? They just can't.
Everybody has ADHD these days. Do you get what I mean? Like everybody truly believes they have it. I'm like, nah. Some of yous are lying. We've not all got it. Do you get what I mean?
And when you've got that, there's when arguably you can take the biggest risks when you're your late teens, early 20s, even mid 20s. You can take like the biggest risks because you don't have much to lose. It's not like you've got. Sure, you might have some kids. Sure, you might have a home. Sure, you might have some
Unless you're
overheads
from
and
Govan,
expenses.
you've got 6 kids. At 25, you've got 6 kids, and they're all 10 months apart. So you cannot take a risk.
So there's that, all right. But you've got all of these challenges, and somewhere along the line, people just settle, and that's why I always say at these events, never believe you're only worth what you're currently getting paid. But let's say you just take on the belief that I deserve to be paid more, but just having that belief doesn't get you anywhere. You actually need to do something about it.
Yeah,
And
you need to prove your worth.
yeah, so this is where you need to do well. What do I need to do on a weekly basis to level up? What value can I bring to the workplace? What can I put out there in social media? How can I get more business? How can I market myself more? Like it's looking at income producing activities, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's for yourself, your own business, whether it's going out there and getting a side hustle, whatever it is. Like it's fucking hard.
Here's a question, right? Now, this question is based on what you would want, not what you think you are worth, right? Because I've only ever had one job in my life, being an electrician. I know that to my own business and to like the students and yes and all that, I know that I'm very valuable. But for me going out and getting a job, I've got really on the face of it, no qualifications. My value as an employee would not be that deserving of a massive salary, right? So don't put it down to what you think you'd be worth. If someone came to you and was like, Paul, take a year away from your developments, you're working on like an actual work schedule. So how many days off do you get a year? Like fucking 25 or so. I don't know what it is, right? But you're an employee for a year, fixed place of work, Glasgow City Centre, or whatever, right? You can't do any speaking, nothing. You're an employee, no outside activities. How much would you need to be paid for that year? And let's just say after tax, how much needs to land in your pocket for you to take a year away from all of that interest. Now you're in a position where your businesses would still run,
Yeah.
because the staff
So
and
that
because
was-
I would obviously step in and do a much better job, and you'd actually make more money in that period of time. So, what would be your number?
But that number would be so much lower than it would be if I had to actually work in my businesses right now, because every single one of my businesses can already function without me. So technically, I could do that job for free
But no,
because I'm still making money.
But mate, you're not going to go and fucking sit in an office for free,
No,
right?
but
What would you want? What would you
change
want?
it a wee bit? That's how, like,
Right.
forget a work. It's like going and doing what you want, and sitting recording podcasts.
Right.
Like,
do you want me to change it? I'm going to up the stakes here. I've got Alexa here, and I've got a Colt 45. I'm gonna.
I already know that she's going to swing you right round,
No,
take that off you.
I'll knock her clean out, right? So I've got your wife here, and I'm like, Paul, you're employed, or I pull this trigger, right?
Okay.
And let's change the job, right?
Right.
Wait, what was your least favourite job you done in your time as an employee?
Yeah, I'd have to go back to the IT days.
IT. So you're gonna work in IT,
Okay.
right? You're gonna do your old job that
Yep.
you got paid the big 15 G's for, right? That's 15
Yeah.
G's a year, by the way. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
How much would you need to be paid to be employed doing that job for a year, knowing what you done and all that?
And I didn't have, like, the businesses doing what they're doing just now.
Yeah, like your businesses couldn't operate without you.
Right. It would need to start with 10.
£10?
Yeah.
£10 an hour, Paul McFadden.
Yeah, it would need to, because I know
10 million.
Yeah,
just for clarity.
because I know what I can generate and where my value's at and what I
Yeah.
can do. You know, it's like, if you think about it, it's not like it's always been that way. But this is how I get opportunities to sit on boards. You know, this is how I've got shareholding positions as well, because my brand, my knowledge, in terms of being able to assist and consult the team that I've, like, think about if you've got Lord Sugar, right? Someone goes to do The Apprentice or something like that, and whoever wins, right?
Bring it up as a touchy subject.
Because you never made it.
Well, it wasn't right for me.
So
Fuck you, Fremantle, BBC, for wasting my bloody time, making me wear suits and shit, answer questions.
you just weren't good enough. It's as simple as that.
No, I wouldn't
You
kiss the
know?
ring.
It's
The brown ring.
oh my
We
god.
need to cut that out.
But most likely,
Probably, aye.
Anyway, so where are we? So Lord Sugar, right? The funny thing is, everyone wants to be an apprentice. So what do you do when you win the apprentice? You get what, 250k or something like that, and
Kinda nothing, to
yeah,
be honest.
exactly.
It's not a lot of
like,
money.
you have his team in an element of his resources. I mean, you can tap into his name. You can literally turn around
He's
and
my
say,
business partner.
Lord Sugar's my business partner. You know, Lord Sugar can post on his Instagram every now and again, you know, whatever the business that you're partner with, you get to get a few pictures with him, you get to see him around the office, you know, twice a year. You know, you get to meet his team, and his team overlook some stuff. So, like, I've adopted that process for years in the sense that when I get involved in another business, you know, I am offering consulting. So I consult the actual directors who run the company.
Yeah.
So I can support and help them. They're directing, they're running the company, they're in the day-to-day grind, they're doing what they need to do. I get to see a little bit of oversight and add value there based on my experience of running businesses. I get to bring resources, which is my team, whether it's marketing, whether it's finance, whether it's, you know, operations, whether it's, you know, media. Like, we were able to bring that team in to initially support their team to get them up to the standard, or just to coach new people that come in, and my team then go out working on another project, right? Maybe I put some capital in. Lord Sugar puts capital in, maybe I have to put some capital in, and of course that comes back, or whatever that may be.
Yeah.
And, like, I wouldn't have been able to do what I'm doing just now, go back probably 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
Because 6-7 years ago, I was still heavily involved in my business. You know, in fact, I would even go back and say maybe 5 years ago is 5 years ago. Yeah, because in my early 30s, I was still heavily involved. And I've said this many times that I should have got out of my businesses long before than I did. Because the funny thing is that you also think that if you want a job done, do it yourself. No one can do a job as good as you. Like, these are limiting beliefs that entrepreneurs, all of them, have. Like, it's crazy
I'm
how
still bad for some of those.
yeah,
by
but it's
the way.
crazy how people think limiting beliefs hold people back. Well, they do, of course, but you could have great beliefs on things that don't hold you back, but there could be certain things that you're not even aware of, such as, and it's an entrepreneur's curse, that they feel afraid to hand off certain tasks, you know,
There's a
because
certain pride in achieving it yourself. Do you get what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like, but see, this takes me on a completely other point that I will touch on now and we can discuss afterwards. But self-made doesn't exist anymore. There's no such thing as self-made. Like, it doesn't exist. Like, if you are someone calls themselves a self-made millionaire, for example, right? Like, that does not exist. And you can put it down. People call me pedantic for this, right? And that's not me saying that, because normally people say self-made millionaires and I didn't have any inheritance or I didn't have any help from family or what. That's generally the angle. But even if you invent something, you had to use someone else's technology or resources to be able to invent that. I don't care if it's opening a MacBook or using fucking Windows XP. Like, you had to use something else that attributed to your success. Nobody, nobody in the world is a self-made millionaire. And I think people cling on to the idea of, oh, I achieved it myself, I done it myself. When there's not really that much pride in that anymore because you're using shit that someone else done to get to that point.
yeah. I mean, anytime I ever hear someone saying self-made, it's, you know,
It's a buzzword,
yeah,
isn't it? But it's just,
it is, and it doesn't really hold any weight. You know,
mm,
the reality is that in my mind, those that excel in business, those entrepreneurs that excel. Because look at Richard Branson; he's got so many businesses. You know, some of those businesses are not that successful.
mm-hmm.
You know, some of them are very successful, and there's all different sizes in there as well. But he's got a phenomenal brand with what he's created through Virgin, and I think from my own point of view, just like a Lord Sugar and many others as well, and you're starting to see more of this yourself as well, is that because what I've been able to achieve in business, you're still, you know, you've done a lot in business, but you're still incredibly young as well.
Aye.
Like, do you know that? It's like you've done, which is amazing for you. You've done more in your time in business than I had in my first 7 or 8 years. You know, like a lot of people don't realize this, but I was just bouncing off walls, floating through life, trying to figure shit out. You know, like coaching and mentorship was still a thing back then, but it was
Well,
much
it
more
wasn't as
difficult.
accessible
It was,
either.
yeah, it was
That's
less
down to the
accessible for
internet as
sure.
well.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, you
imagine trying to launch the Yes Academy with dial up internet. And that, like, imagine that, it wouldn't have worked.
like so we just launched the relaunched the Scottish Property Meet, and we sold out within a couple of weeks, right? Over almost
There
250
was like
people.
200
Yeah,
something
it was
people.
just
It was
crazy.
mad.
My first ever Scottish Property Meet at 11 years ago, come January 2023, the only reason I filled that event is because I went on to Rightmove, GSPC, ESPC, Zoopla, S1 Home, you name it, any portal, to try and download all the email addresses and all the contact details for every single estate agent and email them all, letting agents, mortgage brokers. Like, I just looked at anyone who was involved in property and I would email them. I'd go into the yellow pages,
Oh my
get
god,
all
the yellow
emails and names,
pages, mate.
get into websites, manually taking details in order to send an email invitation out. That's how I filled my first few events. Like
How
there
many
was
people were at them, would you say?
120 people in both. I did Glasgow on the Monday night and Edinburgh on the Tuesday night. Both were over 120 tickets sold in both nights. So
That's impressive.
240, you know. But that's what it was like. So, you know, for me it's like I must have put out easily a couple of thousand emails. Like just non-stop every day. That's all I was doing, you know, to try and fill those those events, and then it just spiraled from that because you get a lot of repeaters that want to come back, and then they spread the
Talk
word,
about it in the
they
office
talk
and blah
about it,
blah.
and then I think Facebook was becoming a more of a accessible
thing
social
then.
platform then, which you could then post some stuff, and yeah, it started to help a lot. But running ads and everything, that wasn't even a thing back then. So it's a bit crazy. I mean, I think we're going bouncing a wee bit, but I think it's cool. This is tends to happen. We're
Aye.
having this kind of chat, just wherever it goes. But it's like, you know, there comes a certain point because it goes to you saying, what would you need to earn? And it goes back to I'm worth way more today than I was worth 5 years ago. Because 5 years ago, if you were asking that same question, Like I was still in the grind, growing and building businesses, even though I still had employees, even though I had a team and everything else. But I was much more active, and I don't think I'd get the opportunities that I've got now, or that I get passed to me. And then I'm looking at, well, what's that going to be like in 5 years from now, or 10 years from now? You know, so it's crazy that's one of those things that someone needs to learn their true value. And the funny thing is the value that I've got right now that allows me to get paid way more than I would have been 5 years ago, and I was heavily active involved. Think about it. I'm doing less now. Lord Sugar's doing less now. Grant Cardone, if you want to use him as an example, like, what is he actually doing? He's built a network. Ty Lopez as well. Like, building his network, building his brand, and that brand is allowing Ty Lopez to go into mergers and acquisitions and securing and buying huge businesses
It's letting him
in
go
the
into his
States.
garage.
Yeah, all about those videos and blowing up his personal profile.
That's something like 3 billion views or something. That
Yeah,
it's
it's like
Ty
so,
Lopez
it's
here
quite
in my
funny.
garage.
I mean, that's had like crazy amounts of views. But as we're recording this, 4 years ago we had Grant Cardone here in the UK.
That's mad.
Right, 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, he was about 6 months into launching Cardone Capital. And he had probably raised in his first 6 months something like, what was his first raise? About 10 million or something.
I've actually I've read all of that. I couldn't remember it off the top
Yeah.
of my head, but it was pretty small in the face of what he's doing now. The first few ones, and then it just started going like wild.
So
wild,
that's
wild.
4 years from Grant Cardone when he came. He was known when he came to the UK as a sales and marketing guy, right? Put himself out in social, but really known as a sales guy. And
No, he's a
then
property guy. Did you mean to say?
no, he was known as. That's what he was known
I
as.
thought you said. I thought you said he was starting to put himself out, not as the sales guy. I thought you meant like switching
No,
his tact to
he
the
was
real
still
estate.
doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
But what happened is he was working with Cardone Capital in the background and his whole, building the portfolio there. And then look what's happened. 4 years on, I mean, I don't know, the number changes all the time, but 5 million,
4 or
6
5
million,
billion assets under
it's
management.
billion, sorry,
Yeah.
and assets under management. And which is insane. Let's say it was only 1 billion, because it's definitely more than that. But let's say it was only one. That's fucking outstanding in 4 years.
That's insane.
That's just insane. It's crazy. But again, where's Cardone in his life just now? He's in his 60s.
He's like 64 or something.
Yeah.
He's in good nick as
Oh,
well,
he's in
mate.
great shape. He's, he looks after himself clearly. And and the things that he launches, the now, because of his brand, because of his reach, he does a lot more. And that's the thing. It's like he's not in the daily grind. He's not in there picking up the tools or
It's
coordinating certain people.
delegation,
It's,
isn't it? It's like
is.
being a sergeant.
I know.
Like he's just like going, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that, bang.
And once you get great at something, you can attract great talent as well. And when you've got great talent around you, you've got a phenomenal team that can literally move mountains. So it's one of those things where when I've always thought about successful people, one of the things I used to always do when I was younger is read biographies. Because
Richard Branson's one's good.
yeah, like anyone's biographies, I Andrew Carnegie, your Duncan Bannatynes, your Sir Tom Hunters. I loved all the Scottish biographies just because it's
Yeah,
like
of
it became a
course.
bit more real because obviously being from Scotland. But then the rest of the UK or even further throughout the whole of the world, just biographies, just listen to people's
What age
stories.
are you at this point, reading stuff like that?
Yeah, late teens,
Right.
early 20s. Like
I could never get into reading when I was younger. Like I'm a mad audiobook guy.
yeah, no, I'm with you there as well. Like when I'm reading, I'm a slow reader. I actually took a speed reading course as well, which improved things.
Speed reading.
Speed reading course, yeah.
What is it? That sounds mad to me. What do you need a course for?
Well, what's funny is that what happens when you're at school, you get taught to look at a word and move your finger or your pencil and read line for line. Yet your peripheral vision, if you're looking just now, you're seeing everything, aren't you? You can see everything. Your peripheral vision. So if you look at a bit of paper that's got writing on it, it's got copy on it, your eyes can actually see it all. But because we're trained, this is why it's just you're trained just to look at one word and then the next and the next. But the reality is your whole eyes can see the whole page. It can take everything in. So that's how you. And then
That's
we're
weird,
supposed to
mate.
read from left to right.
Whoa.
When you start learning about speed reading, you read from right to left, and you glance over it paragraphs at a time. So the first time you go through a book, your recall is probably 30-40%, but you read that book in like 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
What kind of book are we talking here?
Any book, right? Then you go back over it. And it's like practice like anything. You do it a few times, your recall gets even better because some of the books that you do and you test your recall and everything else. But it's fascinating, you know. Like,
You do some weird shit, by the way.
mate, it made a
do some-
massive difference. So when I'm reading books, like I'm scanning through pages quickly because I'm taking off. You ever seen that some crazy thing that you see on you've probably seen it on Facebook or whatever or any social platform or someone sent it to you where it's the first and the last word are spelt correctly or it's the first and the last letter of a word is correct and every other letter in the middle is wrong, but it's easy for you to read it because your mind is filling in the
Yeah.
gaps. So when you're reading and you read a lot of books, your mind fills in the gaps a lot. So when you read so much, like it's funny to see that how many books are just the fucking same.
Yeah.
Like how many times can you learn about a certain principle? Like if you've read 100 marketing books, it's just the same thing but said a little bit
Spun,
differently.
yeah.
So when you've got experience and knowledge yourself and you're active and you're doing things, it makes reading books so much easier because you go right through it and you're picking key points. Anyway, maybe I'm some fucking crazy.
Hey, you're a fucking weirdo, mate. Speed reading
But-
course.
but-
Where do you even how do you even get offered a speed reading course? Did
cer-
someone come up to you one day and go, Paul?
Because I read so many books and I hated that I hated that others could read a lot quicker. I would say, I heard that people say, a book a day. I'm like, a book a fucking day. It'd take me 2 or 3 weeks to read a book.
I mean, that's like those like entrepreneur pages on Instagram. It's like the average millionaire drinks 15 litres of water a day. Like reads one book per hour, meditates for 12 hours. Like it's just all this shit. It's like nobody does that, mate. Like I get up, I wash my balls, I drink a Rockstar, I come to the office, I fuck shit up, I go home, I play badminton or PlayStation, I eat something that is degenerative to my health. I go to bed, I wake up the next day like a fucking animal and I do it again. Like, I don't do it. Well, I like cold water therapy. As you know, I like cold water therapy. I like breathing. I do sleep well.
I
and
like
stuff
breathing too, actually.
Even exercises, you fucking donkey bastard, man, right? So I like doing that type of stuff. But, like, see some of these, like, mate, I seen one the other day, right? And it took me like 10 minutes to realise there's a parody page. I'm going to send you it tonight, right, on Instagram. And it's like all those typical shite entrepreneur quotes, but they change stuff to make it so funny. And it was like this guy in a video, and it's like, if you don't tip your landlord at least 25%, you're not on the same grind set as me. No, it's just like, this stuff is so funny. Like, you can make, like, and they always write the same thing at the end of the posts. Read that again. Have you ever realised that? All these business pages, it's like they tell you like a quote and it's like, read that again, as if you're meant to read it back and go, whoa. Like, the average millionaire breathes oxygen, you know that?
My God.
Oh shit. It's like the dumbest stuff ever. Like, people just believe that. Mate, I don't even, I
Mate,
do
listen,
not
a friend
read.
of mine who's got 3 million followers, and I'm not saying their name,
I know his.
posts the most utter shit on Instagram. I'm talking about 2 + 2 = 4. If you invest in you, you will make more money. Like, I'm talking about like
Shit, they just Disney go together.
it's almost an insult. You know, some quotes are actually quite inspirational. You go, oh wow, that's cool. Or somebody say something that goes, oh, that meant. But this is just the most pathetic. 75,000 likes, 125,000 likes, 4,000 comments and everything else.
If you want to do something good, do it the best. Because if you do it the best, then you know that you are good at doing the best. And being the best is doing good at the best. Follow for more. You fucking idiot.
But maybe that's what people want. Maybe
Nah,
people want
shut
fucking
up, mate.
just dumbed down content.
Nah, mate.
You know,
nah.
it's just crazy.
I'm going to write a book, right? And obviously you've authored, best-selling author, this guy, right? Fucking show-off bastard. So
Dyslexic,
I'm going
best-selling offer.
That's why the whole book is spelt wrong.
The editorial team that rewrote the whole thing.
It's Paul McFadden's property, jumpstart. That's what you want, right? So, mate, I think like if you wrote a book, like I feel like I'm just going to go and capitalize on that, and it's going to be like it's going to be a 50-page book, but there's one word per page. So actually, it's just one long sentence. Like I read stuff and I'm just like, how do people enjoy reading that? Mate, I don't even think I physically sit down and read one book a year that's about business. I listen at Audible like fuck, mate. Like I love Audible, and I'll always at least once per year reread The Lord of the Rings. Right, that's just my thing. But when it comes to actual reading, like I can't even tell you what books I read for pleasure as a child. My mum banned me from playing my GameCube, right? Because I was sitting up and playing it quite late. I'm talking when I'm like 9 years old, right? My mum was like, Richard, you're playing that too much. So she come
Oh
in
my
and
God,
like
your family must have been rich.
a GameCube.
GameCube
It
at
was a
9.
stoler. It was a
Oh
stoler.
my
No,
God.
when I was 9, the GameCube was like 3 gens ago. Just because the GameCube came out when you were fucking in your 15 grand a year job, mate, making big bucks, right?
I knew that your dad gave you a handout and set you up.
Right. So I would just sweat this GameCube, right? And my mum would come in and like, I can't even mind what she would do, but she would take the power adapter away. She'd do something to make sure I couldn't do it. Take my TV remote away and be like, read. If you want to stay up as late as you want, but read, because my mum's an amazing reader, right? So I start reading, right? And my mum would be coming in and I'd be like, she'd see me sitting and I'd have like, you know that way my duvet's folded over, she can't see the book that I'm reading, but this is before tablets and phones and that. Mate, my mum comes in, she goes, what are you reading? And I'm like, don't worry, it's not like boobies or nothing, right? But because I used to get colour magazines and you got the boobies at the end, right? And you would look at them sometimes. Mate, I was reading the Argos catalogue. I read the Argos catalogue from start to finish. I'm like, petrol-powered hedge trimmer, available in 1200 watts. Like, and my mum went through me. She was like, you might be reading something that makes you fucking smarter, you daft bastard. I just read the Argos catalogue.
See what you just said there? Like, remember there used to be... Honestly, I don't know why. I don't know why I do this for you. I really don't. Honestly,
if you know, you know.
I'm dealing with fucking children. Anyway, so Argos, right? You remember Index? Index was similar to Argos.
Nah,
same
man.
concept and everything else. Anyway,
like a department store, high street,
just
catalogue.
exact same. Index, exact same. So anyway, so this is crazy just because you've said that. So we used to always get the most recent Argos or Index catalogue. And what I would do is I'd get a big black felt tip pen and I would go through it all and circle all the things that I want.
Mate, I used
so
to
so going to the home store, I'd be like, oh, I'd have that in the house. Oh, I'd have that in the house. I would do this. Then go into the toy part, the game part, the
portable DVD player.
Oh my God! Like I tell you what,
Yeah.
I think that's a big driver, isn't it? It's like we always talk about the power of knowing what it is that you want, and even from a young age, like you just brought back memories of talking about it, and it's just like just circling things, going, oh, I want that. This is what I'm going to have in my life, and you know, it's just so
funny,
bizarre.
Mate, it's funny because like people vilify any degree of materialism, but it's so normal. Like when you're a kid and you imagine what you want, this is regardless of your upbringing. I think like if you're from an affluent background, a skint background, middle class, whatever, like you'll look at stuff and know the stuff that it is that you want. Maybe not materialistic in the sense that you want it because it's expensive, because what is expensive to you might not be expensive to me and blah, blah, blah. But like, you know what it is you want, but yet we're still always told that, oh, any form of materialism is bad. I mean, I love the Argos catalogue, honestly. It's so good, man.
But see, a lot of stuff we're talking about, I think that kind of just goes full circle. You know, we're kind of drilled into is because we no longer have the motivation to excel in the workplace or to go out there and make more money or to generate, additional income, whatever it is, because a complacency kicks in, and then a decade goes by or longer, and you're getting a bit older, and then, then because you never did something with your life or whatever that may be, it's easy enough to tell others that it's not all about the money. Money doesn't make you happy. It's almost that you're using those as a reason to justify why that person that's saying it isn't where they want to be. For someone to turn around and say money doesn't make you happy, Like, that is just a fucking bizarre statement
so
to
stupid,
make.
mate. So stupid, mate. Like, I make that point. I was like, you can't find me someone who is like skint and happy about it, right? And people always jump back to the fucking stupid Wolf of Wall Street thing where they talk about how, oh, well, a monk, mate. Give me a monk. Give him 10 minutes in the passenger seat of my McLaren. If that fucking monk doesn't smile, if he is not like loving that, I'll be amazed. Watch me take a monk on business class, and I'll take that monk to Atlantis, Dubai, and we will do the water slides. That monk will go back to wherever he is, where I'm sure he's very content in his faith and his mission and all that. He will remember that McLaren. He will remember Atlantis Water Park. He will remember Hakkasan. He will remember all those things.
It's experiences, isn't it? And I think that's what you need to keep in mind. You know, it's like money. Like, then you can turn around and say that there's been many people who have been extremely wealthy and have had money who have then committed suicide.
Of course.
Right? So you could turn around and say that, right? But then you need to find the root reason, because there's so many people that have money but don't yet have a purpose or a drive or something to do, you know?
There's
So
more to, I think, instead of saying money doesn't bring you happiness, you could say something like there's more to life than money. Now, that's not to say that you should neglect money, because if your fucking child turns around and ends up having a brain tumor that they need to go to some random doctor on the other side of the planet, it's going to cost 100 grand. That money's going to certainly, it might not make you happy, but it's certainly going to do something that can help that situation.
See, on that, a real story is I remember talking to someone, and they were talking about how their daughter's she got really bad toothache and stuff, and I was like, so why don't you take her to the dentist? Yeah, I was taking to the dentist, but it's a lot more than that. It's, you know, stuff needs to be done and everything else, and you know, and
This is gonna turn dark.
oh no, it's I mean, it's horrific, you know. And then, so anyway, and then a couple of weeks go by, and then you know, I'm just chatting to a few people, and he happens to be there again, and obviously I'm taking interest. Oh, so like, how's your daughter getting on and stuff? Is she all right? He's like, no, she's still got a lot of pains. I'm like, why don't, like, what's happening? Oh, she's just, every time we take her to the dentist, or, you know, it's just a different problem, and they can't fix her, or whatever. And it's not like just the tooth or anything like that. There's a bit more complexity to it. And you say, I need to get a specialist and things. I was like, well, why don't you go and do it? And he turned around and said, well, but it's money, isn't it?
That's your Wayne. That is your child.
Exactly.
I would be like,
Now,
if I didn't have the income, I would be
but
sucking
by the way,
willies
by
on
the way,
fucking Sucky Wall
this
Street to
this
get that done.
person does not have money. Like, it's not that he's not got money; he's got money. But his thought, like, I actually wanted to fucking.
I'd have punched him.
Oh, honestly,
I'd have punched him.
because it's like, he's like, oh, it's just we need in the wait list for this specialist that we need to get and everything. And I'm like, well, I understand that's the reality, and for so many people, like, not everyone's fortunate to be able to go private, or, you know, to, but in my mind, like, if any of my daughters, if anything was ever so happened, and I had to go and I would sell absolutely everything if I had to, like,
Of
every
course.
single thing.
Of course. And on top of selling everything, you would beg, borrow, steal. You'd do anything to ensure that they were all right.
Absolutely. And
This guy's like, you want a filling, sweetheart? Fuck off.
it was a bit more than just the tooth.
Is the wee girl like still alive?
No, yeah.
She
It's
got like a brain tumor. Is this what you're going to
I've,
tell
I've
me?
no idea, mate.
Oh,
I don't
right, I
know
thought
enough.
this-
I don't know enough about
Oh,
it,
right,
but
nice.
it just wasn't a nice story. You know, it was one of those ones where I'm having
That
a conversation, and every time I was like, oh, what? Do you want me to put you in touch with my dentist and stuff? I was like, it's not really a dental problem. So that
You don't
way
want to
that,
dig too deep,
yeah,
eh?
yeah. So
Yeah.
it was that one. But in my mind, I'm like, geez, it's like, you need to get, if something's not right, and you get specialist advice. You know,
That's mad.
it's something you need to do, and if something's going to take a long period of time to get seen, because that's the whole thing he was saying, is like, you need to fast track that. That's important. You know, it really is. And it all goes back to what we're talking about, money. Like, you think money's not important until you need it. You know, it's like, I know you do, and you know, I give a lot. You know, we support many people, and
It's one of the bigger missions of Yes in general as well, and
Yeah.
your other interests too. Like, it's gonna we'll get to that point where we can.
And I guess
respond
that's
to
why
people like that.
financial education is a big thing for me as well, because like as much as we give to charity and support in a big way, it's nice to also be able to help someone understand money, finances, how to make money, how to manage money, how to invest money, the difference between assets and liabilities,
Do
you know?
I was thinking this the other day, right? That like, if someone clips this, it's gonna sound so bad what I'm saying here. So please take it contextually. Giving to charity almost doesn't solve the problem, because the problem is gonna reoccur. It's like, imagine it like a line of matches, like, and you're just watching them burn, and you're just paying for more matches in the line to make sure that the flame doesn't run out. When if you just pulled one match out the way, it would stop burning. Like, if you can educate the people, and that's the thing that's so hard, is try to educate people in deprived communities and all that kind of stuff. It's almost impossible sometimes to change generational habits. But if you can, on top of donating money, donating time, donating manpower, whatever it may be, if you can actually try and educate the people who are affected by those things, then you can reduce what the charity actually need. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I think I've explained that like an absolute fucking donkey, but
No, it makes sense. I get it. That's why financial education for me, and especially helping those who are much younger, because you don't get taught this stuff at school.
nah,
And if you
school's
can,
fucking
yeah,
useless.
because you think about it, what did I come out of school? I came out of school with no understanding about money. Um, End up taking on store cards, credit cards, loans, overdraft, student bursary, student loans. Like I was,
Bill.
I mean, I was in like 40 grand of debt by the age of 22. You know,
40 grand a day by the age of 22.
22. It was just getting access to money was just so
Mate,
easy.
40 grand back then in today's money is over £1 million.
Oh, that's funny.
That's just a joke. It was probably, I don't know. When would that have been?
That's
2004? 2003?
16, 17 years ago, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy because you're able to get access to it so easily. And the problem is when you've got that much access to debt, you're constantly living on your overdraft, which is costing you money, and you can never get out of it. It's a vicious circle. You know, you're making money to pay your credit cards, and then you're starting to use your credit cards to pay next month, and you know.
Yeah.
So for me, I had to work incredibly hard to get out of it. You know, and it's difficult. So many people are stuck in that cycle, you know, and they just can't get through it. And if you're able to educate those that don't understand money at a young age, then think about it. It means that they won't make some of the same financial mistakes. They'll actually be a bit more intelligent in how they show up in the workplace, or being entrepreneurial,
Manage
or
their income.
you know, having a second income and
Yeah.
investing at a young age, and you know, and you know, even the way that they buy property, not getting emotionally caught up with a walk-in condition property and paying way over, like getting understanding some fundamentals when it comes to investing. Then you know, if you were to do all of that stuff right, and you were able to do that for so like thousands of people in the younger generation, then that's a ripple effect of what that's going to do for like.
It's the butterfly effect.
Yeah, the
innit?
butterfly effect is
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
it's quite exciting.
Yeah.
So I guess well, what we've been chatting about, we've been chatting, bouncing a little bit here, but talking about, you know, the whole idea and concept about money. I guess, you know, sharing some of our kind of
Like,
backgrounds and what we have kind of thoughts about money, and yeah,
the whole money makes the world go round thing is very applicable, and I can say pretty much with absolute certainty that take anyone watching this just now, anyone that I know personally, anyone that you know personally, anyone that follows us on social media, like if you said to them, how much are you on a year? Any number, whether it be they make 100 million a year or they make 10 grand a year, and you say, do you want more? Like, you don't need anything, but do you want more? No one is going to say no to more income.
yeah,
There is nobody in the world that we know who are truly income satisfied. I mean, even Elon Musk, the guy's still on a tight. Maybe it's beyond the income. Maybe that's a byproduct of what he's wanting to do with the whole Twitter takeover and how he's going to use that probably to project his own views and whatnot. Like, he is the richest man to our knowledge on the planet, out with different families or whatever. I'm not even going to get into conspiracies because I just can't even be bothered, right? But he is still not satisfied. If you said to him, all right, Elon, you're worth 200 billion or so, do you want to be worth 400? Oh, yeah, no problem. Like, no one is going to say no to more income.
Yeah.
Why would you?
For sure. So this whole conversation about, becoming the best you, thinking about making more money, working on yourself. So obviously we've put together the Yes Academy.
Yes.
So maybe just touch on that and then we'll leave it at that.
Well, the average millionaire uses the Yes Academy for 4 hours per day. I can't even take myself seriously saying that. That is not true, nor statistical, by the way. But yeah, the Yes Academy, online entrepreneurial resource. If you are out there, you're looking to start a business, you're looking to grow a business, you're looking to increase your income, become a better version of yourself, healthier, more confident, smarter, just an absolute fucking don. That's what you're wanting to do. The Yes Academy's there. It is for you. It's not always open, so you need to register for a place. When we open back up, we'll drop you an email and you can get involved. If you want more money, you want to change your life, you want to become a better version of yourself, lead your community, lead your business, better partner, better dad, mum, whatever it is, the Yes Academy is going to help you get there. So get registered. We'll see you in there soon.